Hi, and for our driver question, we want to kind of have a full team roundtable discussion as to what we really learned throughout the entire denning process. So, Brian, you want to start?
Yeah, so I'm going to start talking about how we can really implement new technologies into using paper. Xerox is a company, they use a lot of paper, they really are involved with printing and everything, so they're changing their dynamics, starting with their printing cartridges down to how we can be more efficient with using our paper. So what they actually came up with is paper that's reusable. It's not like recycled paper, but what you do is it's really made for short-term paper use. So like most paper printing jobs are only used for like within 1 day. So what you can do is you can take the paper and you put it through a heated roller, and the heated roller actually takes the ink off the paper, and then it's kind of like a fresh sheet of paper again. So I thought that was one of the more interesting alternatives to conserving paper.
Another point that we came across was the use of using recycled paper as toilet paper. Although some people may not see this as a great idea because they want the softest, they want the best quality toilet paper, this is turning into a good discussion because it is in fact recycled paper, and it's a great way to save paper, save trees.
Yeah, and we actually had phrased it as the Charmin age because there's actually a lot of talking about how companies are really starting to try to make toilet paper more and more soft, and actually uses more and more virgin wood and use more trees.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that I found most interesting, speaking of recycled paper, is that paper cannot be indefinitely recycled. It gets, well, I think we found in our studies, 4 to 7 recyclable cycles before it's completely useless, or before they have to add in more pulp to make it, really go around. It's not like you can get around the world with an indelible supply of recyclable paper, which that'd be awesome, albeit impossible. But I think one of the most important things that we learned throughout the entire denning process, it's, although we learned that paper, it will harm the environment, and that making it has many effects that nobody really knows, upstream or downstream, it pointed out to us how commonplace products have a lot of extra costs that nobody really knows about. And even before this, we all went into this entire situation like Virgil. We had a seeing problem. We had no idea what was going on before we saw the price tag. And this really taught us now how to look more in depth on the commodities we use, the products that we buy, and things that surround us in everyday life. And if you take everything into consideration, more than just paper, you can really help make a better world.
Yeah, and you're also looking at the changing supply and demand, and really what we're looking at right now as consumers, there's an increase in the demand and then a diminishing supply. So it's really how can we come up with alternative resources to, aside from paper, I don't know, what are some other things we can really start to cut down on? I guess fossil fuels,
yeah.
Just coming down with alternatives to, work with that supply and demand curve a little more. Start asking ourselves more questions, trying to find those answers, see if we can find answers to the questions that we have, and maybe start from there.
Exactly.
That seems it. Like, we really need to focus on being able to reuse these products because trees are a very limited resource. They account for many things that we do in the world. They absorb CO2 emissions. They provide oxygen. They are natural habitats for many animals. Well, the destruction of so many trees to make all this paper and other products at that is just a terrible thing to waste. So through these different methods that we learned about in this denning process, we were able to figure out other ways to keep recycling and reusing paper to better fit the world.
And it's not only trees that we're destroying, also with the waste of paper, the solid waste that the production of paper takes.
Exactly.
It's also destroying natural habitats, as we talked about in one of our pretends about Wisconsin. There's a town in Wisconsin. It's one of the paper capitals of the world in the United States, pretty much. But
it affects the politics.
Exactly, it's affecting so many things. If you want to start talking about that.
Oh, yeah, with the politics of in Wisconsin, it revolves around the paper industry because they will give tax cuts to the head paper companies, and As you know, when you're running for office, you're not going to be able to run a successful campaign without funds, and those paper companies will always back the person who guarantees the least industry regulation with regards to paper. And I mean, before going into this, I had no idea that that paper industry could influence politics of an entire state. You know, maybe a small town, a paper industry town, but a state. It's just wild to think of that.
And it's even skewed. It's kind of like how we have the discrimination and privileges. It's like paper almost gives you a privilege as a candidate. You know, somewhere how we were talking about the future president. You know, there's some underlying consequences there.
Yeah. So, I guess it's we can end off by saying that the tactics and skills that we learned throughout the entire Denning process, they really showed out the flaws in the business as usual, and how we as future possible managers can change that. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.